get up. Let's go. Let's go. Nope, not happening.
You're not going to believe this, but watch as this so-called hero breaks his 13-year-old kid's arm just because he didn't get off the bus fast enough.
Oh, God! Oh!
But before we dive deeper into this video, I want to take a minute to say thank you to John Lang, the creator of Audit the Audit. Before we go any further, I want to take a few moments to really express my appreciation and give a huge, heartfelt thank you to Audit the Audit, one of the most respected channels breaking down police encounters and exposing civil rights violations with clarity, integrity, and honesty. His recent breakdown of my incident involving the officers from Shenandoah, Texas, has already been seen by almost 1 million people within just a few weeks of release. That kind of exposure is more than I could have ever imagined. Because of his video, my story is now reaching an audience I could have never reached on my own. My GoFundMe campaign started seeing new life. More people are sharing the truth. And for the first time, I believe there's a real chance I'll be able to get legal representation and hold these officers accountable. What sets Audit the Audit apart is how thoroughly he explains both the law and the logic behind what you see. He's not just pointing fingers, he's educating. He showed exactly how the officers violated my rights, from the unlawful detainment to the moment Officer Bauer slapped my phone out of my hand while I was lawfully recording. And he didn't pull any punches in calling it what it was, an abuse of authority. I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Audit the Audit. You didn't have to cover my case, but you did. And you did it fairly, honestly, and with incredible professionalism. You've given me more than just a video. You've given me hope, and that means everything. If you haven't seen it yet, go to Audit the Audit's channel and watch the full breakdown for yourself. It's powerful, it's educational, and it's exactly the kind of content that needs to be shared. Please take a minute to thank him in the comments, share his video, and help support independent journalism like this.
On August 6, 2024, Sergeant Mark Brockhoff and Officer Eric Bauer of the Shenandoah, Texas Police Department responded to a call from a hotel regarding 2 suspicious individuals who were allegedly looking into vehicles in the parking lot. Videographer James Eldrith was walking nearby as he was waiting to film a video with a music artist staying at another nearby hotel. The officers approached Mr. Eldrith, and the interaction that followed was captured on the officers' body cameras.
Yeah, how you doing? Where are you staying at?
Staying in Galveston here.
In Galveston?
From what it sounds like, she didn't get a very good look.
The officers discussed the description of the quote-unquote suspicious persons given by a witness who admitted that she did not get a good look at the suspects, and that she stated that one of the suspects was taller than the other man who had been detained and carrying a black backpack. Notably, this information was provided after Mr. Eldrith was already detained, and according to Mr. Eldrith, the only description provided by the initial caller was that the individuals, quote, looked homeless. As the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Texas, explained in the 2022 case of United States versus Alvarez, in order to justify a Terry stop, a physical description of a suspect must be sufficiently specific and particularized, and a description that could apply to a large number of innocent citizens does not authorize officers to seize any one particular individual. Now, while that court noted that a less specific description can support reasonable suspicion where there is temporal and geographic proximity to recent criminal activity, the initial description provided of 2 allegedly homeless-looking males was so broad and subjective that it is unlikely that a court would conclude that the officers had the reasonable suspicion necessary to detain Mr. Eldrith, based on the general, imprecise physical description of the suspects and his proximity to the hotel on a public sidewalk. After speaking with the other officers, Officer Bauer goes inside the hotel to ask about reviewing their security camera footage.
Hey.
Hi, how's it going?
Did you see 2 guys trying to get in the trucks?
I told you, I didn't see them. I saw them walking by, but the guests reported it to me. The thing is that they were trying to mess with it, so. But yeah, if you can't arrest them for that, just give it a CTW.
Yeah.
I'll be fine with that.
We don't really have anything now.
Yeah, I figured because I don't have the proof.
Officer Bauer spends the next several minutes thoroughly reviewing the hotel's surveillance footage, and at one point, he readily admits that Mr. Eldrith is not captured anywhere on the video.
The only one that I've seen is not the guy that I got.
After reviewing the surveillance footage for nearly 30 minutes, Officer Bowers eventually leaves the hotel to report his findings to the other officers on the scene.
So, didn't see the actual, shady. Y'all's guy?
When you have proof that you got the wrong guy and you don't want to look at it, you're doing that on purpose. You're not looking at it on purpose.
Mr. Eldrith repeatedly tells the officers that he has proof of what he's been doing on his phone because he has been filming the whole time, and the officers refuse to review the footage. In the 2018 case of District of Columbia versus Westby, the Supreme Court held that officers are not required to accept a suspect's innocent explanation at face value, and that they are not required to, as they say, rule out a suspect's innocent explanation for suspicious facts. However, it is important to note that this case involved a probable cause determination where there was sufficient evidence to arrest, and the suspects only provided a verbal explanation of their conduct rather than video evidence. Here, the officers had detained Mr. Eldrith on alleged reasonable suspicion, although as we discussed earlier in this episode, the facts known to the officers likely fell short of what is required to justify a lawful Terry stop. Now, even assuming, for the sake of argument, that the officers had reasonable suspicion when they initially detained Mr. Eldrith, a Terry stop can become unlawful once the reasonable suspicion justifying it dissipates. As the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas explained in the 1988 case of United States versus Price, reasonable suspicion must be evaluated in light of all facts known to the officers, and officers may not disregard information that tends to dispel suspicion, now quoting, in a self-serving attempt to continue an investigatory stop beyond the scope of the momentary detention contemplated by the Terry decision. Similarly, the Supreme Court held in the 1983 case of Florida versus Royer that officers must employ the least intrusive means reasonably available to verify or dispel their suspicions promptly during a Terry stop. The Shenandoah officers' repeated refusal to review Mr. Eldrith's readily offered exculpatory evidence contravenes this standard and suggests that they were not diligently pursuing a quick confirmation of guilt or innocence.
So y'all got a guy down there. I can go and brought him down here and see if I know him or send a picture to you or whatever. And
Yeah, they're seen on video.
yeah, we're sitting on a bench.
Yeah, okay.
No one asked
This
us
is
to
the deal.
leave.
Hold on, listen to him.
Yes, sir.
This is the deal. They don't want you on that property no more,
I understand.
so we're going to issue a criminal trespass.
You have to ask me to
Okay.
leave first. That's
Huh?
the law.
Well,
Criminal trespass comes
That's-
when they ask you
that-
to leave.
that's
No
what
one's
I'm
asking
doing.
me. You can't even ask me to
so
leave.
this
They
is a
have to do it.
warning.
I
This is a
understand.
warning. So we're going to need your information because I
No,
need
you
to.
don't.
Okay, well,
Not to ask me to leave.
I'm going to write
Ask
you a
me to
ticket
leave.
for failed ID.
Yeah,
and I'm
that's a
gonna
secondary
put you,
offense.
I'm going to put
That's
you on
You
a.
can't arrest me for false ID unless you have a
you're
reason
not.
to
You're
arrest
not
me.
arrested
Then how you going to ask
You're
me?
being
How
detained.
you going to give me a fake
Okay.
ID
So-
if I ain't been arrested?
because
I
you're
know the law.
refusing to identify yourself. Then you have nothing
I don't
to
have
worry
to
about.
identify myself unless you have placed me under arrest.
I'm not going to sit here.
Really? Because I'm going to sit here with my lawyer here in a little while.
After falsely claiming that Mr. Eldrith was on the security video, Sergeant Brockhoft informs him that he will cite him for failure to ID, and Mr. Eldrith argues that he's not required to identify himself unless he is arrested. Section 38.02 of the Texas Penal Code makes it an offense for an individual to refuse to give their name, address, or date of birth to a peace officer who has lawfully arrested them, but does not create a requirement that individuals who are merely detained identify themselves. Therefore, Mr. Eldrith is correct in his assertion that in order to commit the offense of failure to identify, the individual must be lawfully arrested.
Okay, well, here's the deal. You know that's private property, right?
They have to ask me to leave. I know all those laws. I know. I told you I was thinking about becoming a...
Technically,
I've seen both of y'all looking in vehicles.
I
Don't know what
guarantee you're
year.
wrong, you're lying.
Okay.
They're lying or you're lying. My
So-
proof's right there. Video don't lie. Video don't lie. I'm not fingerprinting. You fingerprint me, I'm going to have you guys. I'm going to have your job. I don't know about your job, but see, you don't pay. You gonna break my fingers? They're pulling on my fingers extremely difficult. They're trying to ID me against my will. Sir, you're violating, you're working under color law. You're working under color law and you're breaking, you are violating my civil rights.
So if you refuse,
I'm not refusing. You're
you
forcing me
refuse-
against my will.
we're going to be taking you to jail.
Take me to jail. Take me to jail, I refuse. Take me to jail, I refuse. He's trying to break my finger. Trying to break my finger just to get an ID when he don't have no right for an ID. I'm on a public sidewalk. You got no reason to bother me. I'm not doing it, man. You want to break my finger?
Dude.
Go ahead. Well, I'll go to jail.
You're-
My camera's still filming right now.
So is mine.
That's right. You're
So
trying
is
to force
mine.
my finger up.
Okay.
I'm not doing it.
All right.
You want to take me to jail? Let's go to jail.
Yeah.
Give me baby rich. There ain't no reason for it.
The officers attempt to forcibly fingerprint Mr. Eldrith, and when he refuses to comply, they tell him that they're going to take him to jail. In the 1985 case of Hayes versus Florida, the Supreme Court noted that the Fourth Amendment could permit fingerprinting during a Terry stop, but only in situations where there was reasonable suspicion that the suspect has committed a crime, there was a reasonable basis for believing that fingerprinting would establish or negate the suspect's connection with that crime, and the procedure was carried out promptly on the scene. Here, as we discussed earlier in this episode, it is unlikely that the officers had reasonable suspicion to detain Mr. Eldrith, and there was no reasonable basis to believe that learning his identity through compelled fingerprinting would have had any bearing on his connection with any potential criminal activity. As such, it is likely that a court would conclude that the officers' attempts to forcibly obtain Mr. Eldrith's fingerprints violated the Fourth Amendment.
You don't know the law, you're going to call your supervisor. If you don't know, well, then why don't you know what you're doing?
They have the right to refuse service to anybody, right?
I'm not
Listen
there anymore,
to me.
sir.
But if they don't want you to come back,
I'm not coming back.
listen
and that's
to
the only
me.
way you can do
They
it.
don't want you to
I'm
come
not
back.
going back.
How are we supposed to know who you are if you show back up?
I'm not there anymore.
I need to know
They can't ask
that
me no
you're
more. I'm
not
not there.
wanted for murder.
I'm not wanted for
Okay,
murder.
well, how do we
Well,
know
why
that?
would you want to know
I'm gonna
that?
take
What
your
if I
word.
was wanted for murder?
Somebody
You have
may-
no right to ask me anyways.
Well, usually
Hey, what about
somebody
that guy's
doesn't
wanted for murder?
identify
What if that guy was
themselves
wanted for
has something
murder?
to hide.
Really? I'm protecting my Fourth Amendment right because you guys are detaining me against my will. If you arrest me, then I'll ID myself. Under threat of arrest, I will ID
Oh, it's too
myself.
late.
Is it too late?
Hey,
All right.
I tried.
So I'm under arrest for what?
I tried.
What am I under arrest for?
Identify
You can't arrest somebody for failure to identify. You can't.
Then you
That's
don't
a
have
secondary
anything to worry
offense.
about.
How are you going to arrest somebody
Okay.
for a failure to identify when you got no reason to arrest them?
Check y'all out. Make sure you're not wanted.
I'm not
Make
wanted.
sure you're not breaking into cars. That's why we're here.
Really? If you wanted to
Okay.
make sure I wasn't doing any of that stuff, why don't
No.
you look on my phone? It's right there. I'm telling you, you have my permission. Why don't you?
You
look
won't
at it?
give me
You don't
any
want
ID.
It. You don't want to know the truth. You won't look
You won't
on there.
give me any ID,
You
but you'll
are
let me look through
purposely
your phone.
holding me. I told you, you can see
So-
what I'm doing. The film's constantly.
We're trying to get his information and get him to identify who he was, but he won't give up anything. Like, he won't give us a name, date of birth, or nothing. He's playing the whole, this is my Fourth Amendment, you know, you don't have a right to detain me, you don't have a right to ask me who I am, that kind of deal. So can I arrest him for failed to ID since it's a reasonable suspicion, like he matches the person on video pulling? Okay. Thank you. Here's the deal, man. That was the DA's office. Since you're refusing to identify yourself,
I have to be arrested first.
no.
Yes, I do.
Listen,
You can
lawyer,
ask me, I don't
district
care.
attorney. Can I?
Yes, sir.
Be quiet for 30 seconds.
Yes, sir.
We're going to Conroe. They're going to fingerprint you because I
Great,
have reason
let's
to.
go.
I have reason to believe that you may be wanted. We're going to Conroe.
Great.
They're going to fingerprint you. If you come back with a warrant, going to jail. If you don't, I'm just going to
Then
leave
I
you.
won't see you.
I'm going to leave you in Conroe, and you can get back to Galveston.
I'm going to see you. Am I under arrest?
You are detained. I'm going to read you this right here, okay? Okay. Per Assistant District Attorney, white male subject will not identify. I have reason to believe subject is withholding his identity due to possibly being wanted. We'll be transporting subject to mail booking for mail to be fingerprinted.
I'm under arrest, obviously. If you don't let me go, I'm under arrest.
Officer Bauer claims that Mr. Eldrith is only detained and not under arrest, and that he is being transported to the jail to be fingerprinted because the officers believe that he is withholding his identity due to a warrant for his arrest. In the Hayes versus Florida case that we discussed earlier in this episode, the Supreme Court held that the Fourth Amendment prohibits police officers from transporting a suspect to the station for fingerprinting when there is no probable cause to arrest, no consent to the journey to the police station, and no prior judicial authorization for detaining the suspect. The court determined that such an extended detention was functionally equivalent to an arrest, and therefore required the officers to have probable cause. Because the officers did not have probable cause to arrest Mr. Eldrith for any offense, it is likely that a court would conclude that transporting him to the police station against his will for fingerprinting constituted an unlawful so-called de facto arrest that violated the Fourth Amendment.
I just read to you what the statute says, sir.
No, that's what your DA said. You can't go over federal law.
After being transported to the jail, Mr. Eldrith was eventually released once the officers determined that there were no warrants for his arrest and no legal reason to continue to hold him. However, instead of returning Mr. Eldrith to the location where he was arrested, Officer Bauer drove him 2 blocks away from the jail and let him out there. Mr. Eldrith is interested in pursuing a civil rights lawsuit, and he started a GoFundMe campaign to help him hire a civil rights attorney, which will be linked down below. Overall, Sergeant Brockhoft and Officer Bauer get an F for initiating an unlawful detention without reasonable suspicion, demonstrating a fundamental misunderstanding of both Texas law and the Constitution, and for manipulating the facts of the interaction to justify their conduct. The officers detained Mr. Eldrith based on a vague second-hand description that amounted to nothing more than, quote, 2 men who looked homeless, which is an inherently subjective characterization that doesn't meet the legal standard for a Terry stop. After detaining Mr. Eldrith, they ignored his offer to show video proof of his activities multiple times, and instead pressed forward with a fishing expedition to validate a theory that they had already decided was true. The officers then went on to falsely claim Mr. Eldrith was on security footage, threaten him with arrest for failure to identify, and attempt to forcibly fingerprint him without a lawful basis. As mentioned earlier, a citizen can only be charged with failure to identify in Texas if they are under lawful arrest, and the Shenandoah officers did not possess the probable cause necessary to arrest Mr. Eldrith. Interestingly, the Shenandoah PD website specifically states in an article posted on February 9th, 2024, several months before this interaction occurred, that citizens have no duty to identify themselves to police officers when they're being detained. The officers ultimately transported Mr. Eldrith to jail, which under Hayes versus Florida qualifies as a de facto arrest requiring probable cause, which, again, the officers did not have. After confirming that Mr. Eldrith had no warrants and had committed no crime, the officers refused to return him to the location where they had detained him. Instead, they dropped him off 2 blocks from the jail. That decision serves no legal purpose and reads as petty retaliation for asserting his rights. This interaction highlights how poor judgment, unchecked authority, and a disregard for legal standards can quickly escalate a baseless encounter into a blatant constitutional violation. Mr. Eldrith gets an A, because although he may have benefited from exercising his right to silence, he demonstrated a relatively strong understanding of his constitutional rights, made a legitimate effort to dispel the suspicion of the officers, and maintained a calm and collected demeanor throughout the interaction. Throughout the encounter, Mr. Eldrith displayed a clearer understanding of Texas identification law than the officers who detained him. He correctly stated that failure to identify only applies when a person is under lawful arrest, and he refused to be intimidated into providing information that he was not legally required to give. His calm demeanor and repeated offers to show video footage of his activities show that he was not trying to obstruct the investigation, but rather was actively attempting to clear up the situation. Despite being detained without legal cause, threatened with arrest, and ultimately transported to jail, Mr. Eldrith did not resist or escalate the situation. He stood firm, kept his communication respectful, and remained focused on protecting his rights. After the incident, he began raising awareness about what happened, requested the body camera footage, and is actively seeking legal representation to pursue a civil rights claim. I commend Mr. Eldrith for maintaining the delicate balance of exercising your rights while also complying with officer commands, and for his willingness to challenge the officer's conduct through the proper legal channels.
Now let's take a look at this kid, sitting quietly on the bus a little too long, ending up in a cast after angering the very people we pay to be our protectors. And if you want to support my fight for justice, check out the links in the description. Let's stand up together, not just for me, but for every person who's been silenced, mistreated, or ignored.
I'd much rather you walk out with me, bud, than me have to drag you out. I don't want to have to do that. Okay?
We have to fight. Somebody may get hurt. And that's going to last a lot longer than it has to.
Yeah, either you or one of us might get hurt, and we don't want to do that. Okay?
I don't even know whether to call it stupid or just plain disgraceful when he tells this kid, if you don't come out now, one of us might end up getting hurt. Really? I guarantee you that this child never once thought about breaking that cop's arm. Honestly, I think we can all tell that this officer was probably planning to hurt this kid all along. This kind of nonsense. Well, it leaves me in total disbelief. It completely disgusts me. And it truly hurts me so very deep that I can't help but feel that we've truly reached a boiling point where something absolutely must change. Because how can anyone, and I mean anyone, actually treat a child so brutally this way, especially someone who is supposed to be honorable, someone who is held to a higher standard than the rest of us. What I see now is a long-lost badge of honor that has now been completely tarnished, dishonored, and that is apparently more often than not just handed out to wickedly narcissistic individuals who are totally ruthless, and that must have completely blackened hearts.
Right now, this is a little problem that can be dealt with, okay? We don't want it to turn into a big problem, because if one of us gets hurt, then you're going to end up going to jail and not to the hospital. Okay, we don't want to do that, okay? So what do you say, Jake? Why don't you help us out a little bit? Stand up and we'll walk out to the ambulance together, all right? What do you say, bud? Gonna answer me? Did you fall asleep? Right over. Alright, come on, bud. Let's go. Come on, Jake. Let's go. We're gonna get up. Come on, we're gonna get up. Let's go. Let's go.
Nope, not happening.
Yep.
Nope. Ah, oh, shit! Oh, God! Oh!
Come on, step down. Step down.
Oh! Broke my fucking arm!
Come on.
Oh!
So what do you think? Do we have us a hero, a tyrant, or maybe he's just a straight-up monster? I don't know about you, but I'm more than just a little sick of this kind of behavior, especially from the very ones we pay to protect us. I'm really starting to think that we need to be paying someone else to keep us safe from them. So let's end policing for profit together. To everyone who's watched, shared, or donated, thank you. Your support isn't just appreciated, it's powerful. And to Audit the Audit, your spotlight on this injustice gave it reach, gave it weight, and gave me hope. I'm deeply grateful. Once again, I want to say thank you to Audit the Audit. But now it's time for more than gratitude. It's time for action. We need to put an end to policing for profit, not by defunding the police, but by removing the financial pressure that drives this broken behavior. When officers are told to generate revenue instead of uphold the law, we get a system that punishes people for profit. A system where harmless actions, like missing a turn signal, having tinted windows, or driving with a broken taillight, become cash grabs for city budgets. And when people can't afford the fines, they spiral into debt, and eventually into jail cells. That's not justice. That's a trap. Rich folks can pay and walk away. Poor folks get buried by fees, by court dates, by warrants. We're not saying end accountability. We're saying make it fair. Replace fines with community service, not financial punishment. Stop tying officer job security to citation quotas. Let police protect and serve, not punish and charge. If we want a justice system that actually delivers justice, we have to strip away the money motive that poisons it. Let's stand together. Let's fix this. Let's be the generation that ended revenue-based policing and restored real integrity to our streets. Like, share, subscribe, and join the movement. Because FOOSHARD isn't just a name, it's a mission. It stands for Focused Officer Oversight, Securing Honest Americans' Rights Directive. One last time, please make sure you watch Audit the Audit's full video. The link is in my description. You'll also find the link to my full-length video there as well. Please like, comment, and share them both, because every share helps the truth spread further than I ever could on my own. And if you'd like to go one step further in supporting this fight, you'll also find a link to my GoFundMe. Every bit of support matters, and together we can make a real difference.